When life falls apart, come back to Jesus. God is correcting you with love. Sometimes life doesn't break loudly. It unravels quietly. One missed call, one closed door, one silent prayer that seems to echo into emptiness. You wake up one day and realize that what once made sense no longer does. The plans you built crumble like dust between your fingers, and no matter how hard you try to piece them back together, something is always missing. And in that silence, you start to wonder if maybe God forgot about you, if maybe the same hands that formed your life have somehow let it slip through his grasp. But he hasn't. You see, just because your life looks chaotic doesn't mean it's out of control. It only means that God is rearranging it. Sometimes he allows the pieces to scatter, not to punish you, but to rebuild you, to show you that his plan was never for you to hold everything together. It was for you to trust the one who can. When everything seems to fall apart, heaven doesn't panic. God doesn't rewrite his plan in a rush. He's not pacing the floors of heaven trying to figure out what to do next. He already knows. He saw the heartbreak before it happened, the detour before it turned your direction, the tears before they touched your face, and still he said, I can work with this. There's a calmness in God that no chaos can disturb. He's not waiting for you to fix yourself before he moves. He's already moving. Behind the scenes, beneath the noise, inside the silence. He's aligning moments, shifting hearts, restoring what was lost, and preparing what you can't yet see. And maybe right now, he's asking you to stop trying to make sense of the broken pieces and simply place them in his hands. Because what you see as shattered, he sees as sacred. What you call over, he calls in progress. The truth is, trusting God isn't about understanding every step. It's about resting in the assurance that he knows exactly where those steps lead, even when you don't. So before you give up, before you lose hope, before you assume it's too late, pause, because the God who created the universe is not confused about your life. He knows exactly how to fix what feels unfixable, and if you'll let him, he'll prove it to you, piece by piece, moment by moment, miracle by miracle. 1. When life feels out of control, God never is. When life spins out of control, your first instinct is to hold tighter, to fix it, to figure it out, to make sense of the pieces that no longer fit. But sometimes the tighter you hold on, the faster things slip away. And that's when the truth begins to whisper. Maybe it's not yours to control. Maybe it never was. You see, control feels safe, but it also makes us forget who's really holding the world together. When the job falls through, when the diagnosis comes, when the people you counted on walk away, it's easy to think that everything's collapsing. But from heaven's perspective, nothing has fallen apart. It's only falling into place. God never loses control. Not of your life, not of your future, not of your pain. Even when everything looks uncertain, he remains unshaken. The wind may roar, the waves may rise, but he still commands the storm with the same authority that raised Jesus from the dead. Think about that. The same voice that spoke the universe into being is speaking over your chaos right now, and his words never return empty. You might not see the order yet, you might not feel the purpose, but God's sovereignty isn't dependent on your understanding. He doesn't need your plan to make his work. He's not bound by your calendar, your deadlines, or your disappointments. Every time you whisper, Lord, I don't know what to do, he answers, I do, and that's enough. The moment you surrender the illusion of control, peace begins to breathe again. Because peace was never found in certainty, it's found in surrender. You can't anchor yourself to circumstances, they shift like sand, but you can anchor yourself to the rock that never moves. Maybe this storm you're in isn't meant to destroy you. Maybe it's meant to remind you that your strength isn't enough, but his grace always is. That your understanding will fail, but his wisdom never will. So when life feels like it's spiraling, don't panic. Lift your eyes higher. The same God who split the sea can steady your steps. The same God who calmed the wind can calm your heart. The same God who held the universe in his hands is holding you right now. And no matter what it looks like, he's not done. He's not overwhelmed. He's not surprised. He's in control, and he's already working all things together for your good, because he's not just the God of peace, he's the God of power, and your chaos still answers to his name. 2. The Master Fixer. God knows the blueprint of your life. You see, God isn't guessing with your life. He's not standing over the wreckage, wondering how to piece it back together. He's the one who designed it in the first place. Every detail, every turn, every intersection of pain and purpose. Before you ever faced the problem, he already held the plan. We call things broken, but God calls them building blocks. The pieces that don't make sense to you are part of a design only he can see. You're looking at the puzzle up close, jagged, messy, scattered, but he's looking at the full picture from above, perfectly aligned, nothing missing, nothing wasted. He knows how to fix it because he made it. He made you. He knows what your heart needs before you can even name it. He knows the cracks that no one else can see, and he knows exactly how to fill them, not with temporary comfort, but with lasting healing. When we try to fix things on our own, we patch them, we cover the wound, we paint over the pain, we pretend it's fine. But God doesn't do patchwork. He rebuilds. He restores from the foundation up. He takes what's been torn apart and recreates it into something stronger, deeper, more radiant than before. Sometimes he'll let you see it fall apart so you can finally stop trying to live by your own blueprints, because the truth is, your plan might have been good, but his plan is perfect. When you were still in your mother's womb, he wrote every day of your life in his book, every triumph, every tear, every setback that would lead to a comeback. He saw it all, and nothing that happens to you has ever taken him by surprise. You can't surprise the architect. You can't bring him a mess he didn't already account for. He's not intimidated by what's broken in you. He's not afraid of your questions, your scars, or your mistakes. He knows where every missing piece belongs, and he knows how to turn what fell apart into a masterpiece. When you think it's over, he's just getting started. When you think you've gone too far, he's already mapped the road back. When you think you've failed, he's already factored grace into your story. So let him build again. Hand him the fragments, the heartbreak, the fear, the loss, the disappointment, because what you call ruins, he calls raw material, and the God who sculpted galaxies out of dust knows how to rebuild a heart out of pain. You may not see the full design right now, but one day you'll look back and realize every setback, every detour, every unanswered prayer was part of the construction. God never loses the blueprint. He knows exactly what he's doing, and when he's finished, your story will reflect his glory in ways you never imagined. 3. The waiting room of faith. Learning to trust his timing. Waiting, that's the part nobody likes to talk about. Because waiting feels like silence. It feels like God pressed pause while your life keeps unraveling. You pray, you believe, you hold on, and still nothing seems to move. But what if the waiting isn't a punishment? What if it's preparation? You see, God doesn't waste time. He uses it, and while you think nothing's happening, something holy is. The waiting room of faith isn't empty space. It's sacred ground where God shapes your trust, strengthens your heart, and aligns your path with his purpose. There's a reason he doesn't rush. He's not slow. He's strategic. Because if he gave you what you wanted too soon, it might destroy what he's building in you. You're asking for the blessing, but he's preparing your capacity to carry it. You're asking for the door to open, but he's strengthening your character so you won't collapse when it does. Sometimes the delay is divine protection. You think you're waiting for the right moment, but really, the right moment is waiting for you to become ready. And that's what faith looks like, trusting that God's clock never misses a second. He's not late. He's not ignoring you. He's aligning everything perfectly, down to the smallest detail. When Joseph was thrown into a pit, he didn't see the palace ahead. When David was anointed king, he didn't sit on the throne the next day. When Lazarus died, Jesus waited 4 days, not because he couldn't move faster, but because he wanted to show that even death bows to his timing. So if it feels like heaven is quiet, don't assume nothing's happening. Stillness doesn't mean absence. Silence doesn't mean neglect. It means God is working behind curtains your eyes can't see. Faith grows in that waiting, not in the answers, but in the in-between. That's where you learn to depend on his whisper, to trust without evidence, to believe without visible proof. Maybe right now, you're standing in the hallway between no longer and not yet. You've outgrown what was, but haven't reached what's next, and that space feels unbearable. But remember, that's where God forges endurance. That's where he matures your faith from fragile hope into unshakable confidence. The waiting room isn't wasted time. It's the workshop of trust. It's where you stop asking when God and start saying whenever God. It's where you surrender the calendar and rest in the truth that the one who authored time knows exactly how to use it. So breathe. Your waiting is not in vain. God's delays are not denials. They're divine appointments that haven't arrived yet. And when his timing finally unfolds, you'll understand why every second of the wait was worth it. 4. Behind the scenes, God is already working. Just because you can't see God moving doesn't mean he isn't. He's not the kind of God who needs to announce his every move. He works quietly, masterfully, purposefully, behind the scenes. While you're worrying about tomorrow, he's already in it. While you're crying over what broke, he's already preparing what will bloom. While you're wondering if the story is over, he's already writing the next chapter. We serve a God who doesn't sleep. Even when you feel abandoned, he's orchestrating something so precise, so intricate, that if you saw it now, it would take your breath away. He's aligning people, preparing places, shifting circumstances, and softening hearts, all while you're wondering if he's forgotten your name. He hasn't. Sometimes God hides his hand so that your faith can find his heart. He wants you to trust not because you see the miracle, but because you know the miracle worker. He's still the same God who parted the Red Sea, who fed 5,000 with a handful of bread, who called life back into a tomb. He didn't stop working then, and he hasn't stopped working now. When Esther stood before the king, she didn't realize that months earlier, God had already positioned her for such a time as this. When Ruth gleaned in the fields, she couldn't see that her obedience was leading her straight into the lineage of Jesus. When the disciples thought the cross was the end, heaven was already preparing resurrection morning. That's what God does. He moves in moments you think are meaningless. He turns detours into destinies, heartbreaks into holy ground. He builds miracles in the dark so that when the light finally comes, you'll know it was him all along. You may feel like you're standing still, but heaven is not still. God is busy in places you can't reach. He's weaving threads you don't yet understand, and one day you'll look back and realize every delay, every tear, every twist of the story was a setup, not a setback. Right now, while you're praying, he's already sending the answer. While you're waiting, he's already making a way. While you're doubting, he's still faithful. So don't mistake silence for inactivity. God's silence is never absence, it's strategy. He's setting the stage for something you can't yet imagine, something that will make sense only when the curtain lifts. And when it does, when the door finally opens, when the healing finally comes, when the breakthrough finally breaks, you'll see it clearly. He was never late, he was never gone, he was never still, he was working the whole time. 5. Restoration beyond imagination. God doesn't just repair, he renews. When God restores, he doesn't just put things back the way they were, he makes them better. He doesn't stop at repair. He brings resurrection. He doesn't just fix what's broken, he transforms it into something that carries glory. You see, we often pray for God to give back what we lost, but he's not in the business of rewinding. He's in the business of renewing. He doesn't return what was taken in the same form. He brings it back redeemed, refined, and overflowing with purpose. Think of Job. He lost everything: wealth, family, health, hope. But when God stepped in, he didn't just restore Job's life, he doubled it. The pain didn't end the story. It became the soil where blessing grew. Or Joseph, sold by his brothers, forgotten in prison, betrayed by people he trusted. And yet years later, God positioned him as second in command over Egypt, not to erase his past, but to redeem it. Because restoration doesn't mean pretending the pain never happened. It means showing how even pain can produce purpose. That's the beauty of God's work. He rebuilds differently. He takes ashes and turns them into beauty. He takes mourning and gives back joy. He takes broken dreams and reshapes them into something stronger, wiser, eternal. When you fix something, you try to make it look how it used to. But when God restores something, he gives it a new identity, one marked by grace, not damage. He doesn't just mend hearts, he resurrects them. Maybe the thing you lost wasn't meant to return in the same form. Maybe God's restoring you instead. Because sometimes his greatest miracle isn't changing the situation, it's changing the soul that walked through it. He lets the storm come, not to destroy, but to rebuild. He allows the breaking so the light can finally get in. And when it does, you'll realize the version of you that emerges from the ashes is more alive, more rooted, more radiant than the one that entered the fire. Every tear becomes a seed, and God knows how to bring a harvest out of heartbreak. He can take your mistakes and use them as testimonies. He can take what was stolen and replace it with something that can never be taken again: peace, strength, wisdom, and a deeper faith that no circumstance can shake. When he restores, he doesn't just close old wounds, he gives them purpose. He lets the scar remain, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of his power. Because a scar means you were wounded, yes, but it also means you were healed. So don't pray for your old life back, pray for his new life to rise. Because God's restoration doesn't look like what you lost, it looks like something better than you dreamed. He's not just rewriting your story, he's revealing that the broken chapters were always leading to beauty. And when he's finished, you won't just thank him for what he restored, you'll thank him for what he transformed. 6. Trusting the unknown, knowing the one who knows. Faith doesn't always come with clarity. Most of the time it comes with questions. You won't always understand what God is doing, but that's what makes it faith. Trusting the unknown isn't easy. It's standing in the middle of uncertainty and choosing to believe that Jesus still knows exactly where you're going. It's walking through the fog step by step with a peace that doesn't make sense because your trust isn't in the path, it's in the one who leads it. You don't have to see the whole picture to know it's beautiful. You don't have to understand the why to trust the who. And even when the road twists, even when it feels like you've lost your way, God hasn't lost sight of you. He knows every turn before you take it. He knows where the danger lies, where the blessing waits, where the lesson hides. He's not asking you to figure it all out. He's asking you to follow. That's the hardest part of faith, letting go of control. Because deep down, we want the map, the timing, the certainty. But God says, no, child, I'll give you me instead. And when you have him, that's enough. You may not know how it ends, but he wrote the ending. You may not know what's coming, but he's already there. The unknown isn't a threat when your hand is in the hand of the one who never fails. Peter didn't know how to walk on water. He just knew Jesus was calling him. Abraham didn't know where he was going. He just trusted the promise. Mary didn't know how the impossible could happen. She just said, let it be unto me. That's the power of surrender. It's not blind, it's brave. It's not weakness, it's worship. Because trust isn't proven when everything's clear. It's proven when nothing makes sense, and you still say, I believe. God doesn't need you to understand. He needs you to stay in faith when fear rises, to stay in hope when doors close, to stay in love when life feels unfair. Every time you trust him in uncertainty, heaven moves. Every time you release what you can't control, peace flows in like a river. And every time you choose faith over fear, you're declaring to the darkness that Jesus reigns here, in your heart, in your story, in your storm. You don't have to know the next step. You just have to know the next Savior, and he's already gone ahead of you, preparing the way, lighting the path, holding your future in his scarred, steady hands. So don't let the unknown scare you. Let it draw you closer, because faith doesn't ask for answers. It rests in assurance. You're not lost. You're being led. And one day you'll look back on the roads that confused you, the nights that scared you, the detours that broke you, and you'll see it all so clearly. Every step was love. Every delay was grace. Every unknown was God's perfect guidance, leading you straight into his promise. Conclusion. Maybe this is the moment where you finally stop trying to figure everything out. Maybe this is where you exhale, unclench your fists, and whisper, God, I trust you. Because the truth is, you were never meant to carry it all. You were meant to rest in the hands of the one who carries you. Every burden, every broken plan, every unanswered prayer, he's been holding it all along. He's not asking you to be perfect, he's asking you to be present, to show up in faith even when your knees shake, to believe he's working even when you can't see a single sign. When life feels uncertain, that's not the end of the story, that's the beginning of trust. Because faith doesn't start when everything makes sense, it starts when everything doesn't. You don't have to know how God will fix it, you just have to know that he will. You don't have to see how the pieces come together, you just have to believe they will, in his time, in his way, for his glory. He's not just mending your story, he's rewriting it with redemption in every line. The parts that made you cry will one day make you praise. The very places where you felt forgotten will become the altars where you testify of his faithfulness. God is not distant, he's not silent, he's not done. He's closer than your next breath, stronger than your pain, and wiser than your plans. He's already walked through your tomorrow and returned with peace for today. So take heart, you're not too late, you're not too lost, you're not too broken, you're exactly where grace can find you. And one day when you look back, you'll realize the moments that scared you the most were the ones that shaped your faith the deepest. The tears that fell in the dark watered the roots of your strength, and the God who seemed silent was actually the one steering every turn, every trial, every triumph. He knew exactly what to do then, he knows exactly what to do now, and he will know exactly what to do tomorrow. So trust him, not because you can see the way, but because he is the way. Not because you understand the plan, but because he is the plan. And when you hand it all back to him, your fears, your future, your failures, you'll find peace in the simplest truth of all. God never loses control, and he knows exactly how to fix it.